I think it is time to start now. Hello everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Yana, and I'm a CG specialist at Chaos Group. The reason why we are all here today is that VRay 3.5 is out. This is a new and very cool VRay upgrade, and as usual full with powerful new features, many improvements and optimizations. I'm super eager to share with you what's inside VRay 3.5. But before we start, I want to tell you that during my presentation, my colleague Javor will answer your questions in the chat. So, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to write them down in the chat box. Let's get started. In the webinar's overview, you can see what I'm going to cover today. Since some of you are new VRay users, I will start with some general information about VRay. You will see in which industries people use VRay, why people like it, and how it has evolved during the years. And then we are jumping to the main part of my presentation, where you will see the improvements made to VRay and how the new features will help you in your everyday workflow. After many years of hard work and development, VRay is nowadays an industry standard, especially in the architecture. And I'm really proud to tell you that 9 and 2 of the top 100 architectural companies and practices in the world are our clients. And here you can see listed some of them like Gensler, Foster & Partners, Big, Herzog & de Meuron, Hedderwick Studios, and many more. And what a better way to explain what people do with VRay than showing you some beautiful renders, of course, kindly provided by some of our users. This is the tallest building in Chicago called the Gateway Tower, and it was designed by Gensler. The visualization was made by Tomorrow AB in Sweden. Another gorgeous image is this one. This is the Hyperloop in Dubai, and it was designed by Big. And here in Hudson Yards in New York City, a fantastic vessel designed by Thomas Hedderwick. The image was rendered by Forbes Massey, a UK studio. VRay is also used in the VFX industry. Almost in each and every feature film nowadays, you can see sequences rendered with VRay. This is because our clients are companies like ILM, Method Studios, Blur, MPC, Illora, Zoic Studios, Scanline VFX, Mackevision, Atomic Fiction, and many more. And here are some feature films where VRay was used, like Doctor Strange, Godzilla, Ant-Man, Deadpool, Spectre, San Andreas, and you can pick your favorite one. Many of them are with Oscar nominees, many also won Oscar. And speaking about Oscars, I want to share with you something which makes me and all of my colleagues very proud. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences recognizes VRay's role in bringing realistic CGI to the big screen, and now VRay wins Academy Award. Vlado received an Academy plaque at the 2017 Academy Award. At this point, I just want to say congratulations to Vlado and of course to the whole Chaos Group team. Moving on, VRay is also used in the advertising, automotive and design, and companies like Volvo, Toyota, Tesla, they all rely on VRay to visualize their beautiful products. For reference here, I have chosen the first Porsche electric car design. The fantastic visualization was created by Mackevision. Another elegant car. This is a great work done by Dmitry Glazerin in 3D Studio Max and rendered, of course, with VRay. So to summarize, as you saw, VRay has found its place in each and every industry and is used by freelancers, smaller and bigger studios. Based on the feature chart of VRay, you can see how our product has evolved during the years. All of you who are VRay users, you all know that the changes we make to VRay are totally based on your feedback, guys. So here I just want to thank you for that. There are two things you can clearly see from here. The first thing I want to point out is the frequency of the releases. For version 1 and 2, we needed about a year for a service pack. Now, since version 3, we release 2 service packs per year, which is great because our service packs are not only for bug fixes. You are getting plenty of new features, many improvements and optimizations, which will add additional functionality to VRay and will make your everyday workflow more efficient. Looking at the amount of features, you will see that with version 2 together with the service packs, we have doubled the amount of features in VRay. Then, with version 3, we have tripled the amount of features, and since then more features were added and many improvements were made. The reason is more than clear. Our goal is always to fulfill your needs, our users' needs. And now VRay 3.5 is out. In the last upgrade of VRay, you will find a bunch of very powerful features. I really believe that all we've added will help you to create your amazing renders easier and faster like never before. This diagram is showing again the evolution of VRay. You see that we are constantly adding new functionalities, so you guys have everything you need to create your marvelous renders and also enjoy working with VRay. What this chart does not show you is the speed improvements through the years. VRay became many times faster and smarter. If you have previous version of VRay, you can test it for yourselves. Some tests made show us that VRay 3.5 became 4 times faster than VRay 1.5. There is also an article from FX Guide about that. If you want, you can visit their website and read the whole article. I think that was enough for the introduction. I guess you are all curious what's new, so let's see what you are getting with the new version of VRay 3.5. The highlights of the release are definitely the adaptive lights, which will speed up your rendering significantly, the new interactive production rendering, the VRay IPR. Users can now pause and resume the rendering process, and as usual, we have made many GPU improvements. For people using the VRay GPU, this will be their favorite service pack, I think, and you'll see why I'm saying this just in a couple of minutes. As a 3D artist, I can tell that the render speed is the most important thing for me to deliver my projects on time. I'm pretty sure that all of you want faster rendering, right? With all this said, let me introduce to you a brand new lighting algorithm which will dramatically speed up the rendering process. It is called adaptive lights. Scenes with many lights were quite a challenge to render till now. In VRay 3.5, you have the adaptive lights method, where VRay will pick very smart only the most important lights in the scene for evaluating the lighting. The more lights you have in the scene, the greater will be the difference in the render speed. Tests show that with adaptive lights on, you can render up to 7 times faster depending on the scene. It is available for CPU and for GPU. Let's see the feature in action. On the left, the scene is rendered with full lighting evaluation, adaptive lights turned off. On the right, we have enabled the adaptive lights option. You can clearly see the differences in the render times. For this scene, we have more than 2 times faster rendering. Until now, we had VRay Production and VRay RT in active shade mode for interactive rendering. Now in VRay 3.5, our full-blown production rendering with all the VRay features becomes interactive. That's great, right? You don't need to go in the render settings and switch to active shade mode to get interactivity. It is easier like never before. In order to show you how this goes, I'm going to open 3D Studio Max, then the VRay frame buffer, and you can start the VRay RPR from this button over here. So let's do so. The second thing you're going to notice is the progress bar we have added to the VRay frame buffer. And right now I'm using the progressive image sampler in VRay, so here it goes. But the VRay IPR also works with buckets, so if you prefer you can switch to buckets. The thing is that I'm used to work with the VRay RT and it updates the whole image, so I prefer to use the progressive for tweaking my scene. Then let's actually change some materials. For example, let's change the color of the flowers, making it pink. Or even better, I can just go and assign a texture for that. Alright, then I can change the reflections. The idea here is to show you how easily everything works and how dynamically everything updates. So now I'm going to assign this material to the flower, and here I miss one more material, so let's assign it as well. And I'm ready to go. The only thing I need to do right now is to jump into my render camera and unhide everything in my scene, since I have two more flowers and a, how to call this, robot bee. Yeah, this is how it goes. Let's go back to the presentation now. So guys, I'm pretty sure that there were many times when we just wanted to pause our rendering, but we also didn't want to lose the rendered information, right? The next feature is something which we all will find very useful and could drastically change our workflow and the choices we make while rendering. It is called resumable rendering. The resumable rendering is the ability to have incomplete renders resume where they left off. Let's go back to the scene because I want to show you how this works, how you can activate it. I'm going to stop the rendering and clear the VRay frame buffer. Now I need to open the render settings, and again here the resumable rendering works with progressive and with the buckets, but this time I prefer to show you the feature using the bucket mode, since you're going to notice better the differences and where I'm stopping the rendering. The next thing I want to do is to increase significantly the noise threshold, and now in order to enable the resumable rendering I need to go under frame buffer and activate resumable rendering from here. There is one more thing I need to do, is to tell VRay where to save the render. Let's call it resumable rendering, save, and let's start the rendering now. Alright, you can see that the light cache was calculated and the bucket rendering started. In cases when I need my render power, I can go and stop the rendering. Even I can close 3D Studio Max and when I come back, I can resume the rendering. And it will start from this point where I have stopped it. Very useful feature, I think, in my opinion. I'm going to use it a lot. So give it a try and see how it works for you. And let's go back to the presentation. You probably heard about Anders Langlands. He wrote a shader which people find very useful, especially for creating realistic looking skin shaders. And since the shader is open source and many VRay users wanted the OWL shader to be integrated also in VRay, now it is. So for that I'm going to open the next scene. Just give me a few seconds. So here I have this funny guy. The thing I'm going to do is to start the VRay IPR, zoom a little bit, because we are going to see most of the subsurface scatter effect at the ears. Then I'm going to start the material editor and show you from where you can create the VRay out surface material. Is this the second one? Now I'm going to assign it to the character, and let's take a look at the parameters. So we have general parameters. You can find here the bump slot, the displacement slot. Then we have diffuse components and 3 different subsurface scatter layers. And in addition, you have also 2 reflection layers. So if I want to create a skin, I need to go in here and to enable the subsurface scattering by typing 1 for the SSS mix. And you can see immediately the subsurface scatter effect on the ears. In order to focus more on the effect, I'm going to disable here the second and the third subsurface scatter layer. And now you can see the effect disappeared a little. In order to get it back, I can just go and increase the radius a little. So here we go. Now I can see more. Or let's also make this the color of the SSS1 more reddish. And here we go. We can see now more from the effect. Another thing I need to do is, of course, to change the diffuse color. So let's pick this one, for example. Or I can also take this texture and plug it into the diffuse slot, like so. Actually, the original material of the character is this one. So let's assign it and take a look at it. Basically, what I have done is to plug a texture into the diffuse color slot. Then I have a bump, and I have a texture for the first layer of subsurface scatter, and in the reflection 1, I have a map for the roughness. This one. Since we don't have so much time, I'm just going to show you the final render, which is this one. Since I'm talking about materials, I want to make those of you happy who wanted and needed MDL support for their projects. We support now the NVIDIA Material Definition Language, which will give you the freedom to share physically based materials between supported applications. VRay ships also with a bunch of MDLs, which you can use. You can also go on the NVIDIA website and download their free library, or you can just build your custom one, for example, using the Substance Designer for the creation of the MDLs and then render them in VRay. I want to open my next scene, which will be this one, in order to show you the MDLs. So those are the MDLs which you're going to get with the VRay installation. And you can see we have some gold or carbon, wood. How to create an MDL? It's super easy. Just go under Materials, VRay, and you're going to find the loader in here, VRay MDL material. Then the thing I need to do is just to go and find the material I want to use. That's pretty much all. Those rollouts here are the standard 3D Studio Max texture rollouts, and the general rollout holds parameters that control common shader characteristics. In order to show you how the material looks like rendered, I'm going to start again the VRay IPR. And here on these cubes I have assigned those materials, the MDLs. And if you're interested of knowing more about the materials, you can go on our documentation website docs.chaosgroup.com and read more about the MDLs in VRay. Or you can also read more about MDLs, of course, at the NVIDIA website. So, moving on. Many artists render nowadays VR images to visualize better their ideas and design. Our new feature, called Live VR Rendering, can save you a lot of time in the creation and approval process between you and your clients. The question is how? Until now, as an artist, to evaluate my image, I needed to render it first, to save it, to load it in the VR headset, to preview it, then to make changes, then to repeat the process, and same happens when a client needs to approve a VR image. Now we have a live connection between the VRay RT and the Oculus or HTC Vive headset. The RT is rendering a cube map, as you can see here, and you see it at the same time at your monitor and the client on the headset. So you can easily do the changes which your client wants. So if the client wants the lighting to be changed, you can go and move the sun, for example, or change some materials, and the VRay RT will update. So guys, GPU rendering. As you know, VRay supports both CPU and GPU rendering, and this is a huge advantage because you can choose at any time if you want to render on your CPU, or you just bought powerful graphic cards and you want to take advantage of them by using them for rendering. More and more companies like Zoic and the Barty, for example, have a GPU-based production pipeline. From our side, we have dedicated GPU team, and since VRay 3, they improved and improving constantly the GPU rendering in VRay. And this is definitely the GPU service pack with bunch of new stuff added. Now let me show you how VRay GPU evolved since VRay 3 came out. In the chart, you can see features and improvements related to the GPU. I don't need to explain much. The chart is enough to see the progress of the VRay GPU. Now let's focus on the latest GPU improvements. As you know, GPUs are able to do calculations very fast. This is why the GPU became a powerful rendering tool. The reason why many artists are afraid to use the GPU for rendering though is because of the hardware limitations of the graphic cards. With VRay 3.5 we are extending the limitations by making some major core optimizations which will give you up to 70% less memory usage. And also thanks to on-demand mid mapping added, you will get additional up to 40% more memory efficiency. What is mid mapping and how it works? VRay knows about the rendered scene and the position of each object. If the object is far away from the camera and occupies just a few pixels, it is not necessary to load the whole 4K texture, for example. In this situation, VRay will automatically take lower resolution of the texture for objects which are far away from the camera, because the detail won't be visible anyway. And there won't be any differences in the quality. And as I mentioned, you don't need to do anything in advance. Just switch to on-demand mid mapping in the render settings, and that's all. Before I show you some results, I want to thank Bruno Camara for giving us this high detailed orc with high-res textures, so we could push the limits of the GPU rendering and make an example test scene for you. Let's see the effect of those developments. So the video memory usage for this scene in VRay 3.4 is 2600 megabytes. Now I'm going to play the demo video. This is VRay 3.5 and the memory usage is just 1300 megabytes. Then by turning on on-demand mid mapping, the end result is 350 megabytes. Let's compare. VRay 3.4 needed 2600 megabytes. VRay 3.5, with all the optimizations done to the GPU, it needed only 350 megabytes. This is huge. This means that this scene needs about 7 times less memory to render. As a conclusion for this topic, I can tell that now bigger scenes can fit in the video memory and can be rendered on the GPU, which is really great. On the following slides, you will see some very cool and useful VRay features, which were added now to the VRay GPU as well. Starting with the VRay aerial perspective, this feature was added in VRay 3.3 and is now supported on the GPU. The VRay aerial perspective is very useful for adding depth to our image, adding atmosphere. It is really easy to set and it renders super fast by giving extra level of realism to our visualizations. The atmosphere render element is now also supported on the GPU in cases you want to do some compositing afterwards. One of my favorite VRay features is the VRay Clipper. It is a very easy and fast way to cut your geometry at render time. With a few easy clicks, we can cut our model in no time. I can get from this tape recorder that cut one, so I can easily visualize what's inside it. Now the VRay Clipper is also supported on the GPU, and here is how it works. The VRay Clipper cuts the geometry and fills also the empty gaps for you. If you want to make those cuts more dominant, you can assign a different material to them, as here this red one, or you can use the material of the cut objects just by clicking on the Use Object Material checkbox in here. As you saw, it also has include and exclude list, so you can say which parts of the object are going to be cut. VRay Stochastic Flakes is also one of the latest VRay features, now supported on the GPU as well. The Stochastic Flakes material is perfect for realistic looking car paints and different kind of sparkly surfaces like snow, nail polish, sand. Here you can see how easy it is to work with it. We still have the car paint material, which you can use if you prefer. The advantages of the Stochastic Flakes material are that it is more physically accurate, it requires less memory, and a big advantage is that you can create a colorful flakes from this option here. Those were the GPU highlights, but as you saw in the chart, we have plenty other cool GPU improvements, like support for adaptive mode of the VRay blend material, support for the forest color texture, so for people who use forest pack, they are going to randomize easily the leaves of the trees. Then we support the velocity render element on the GPU now, as well as the VRay atmosphere render element. We have added also the option called low GPU thread priority. When we use one GPU for rendering and at the same time for the display, it is normal that sometimes the navigation in the viewport slows down. Using now the low GPU thread priority option will help you to have more responsive viewport. Matte shadow is also supported on the GPU. Making a 3D object match the environment, for example a picture, we need a proper shadows. To create them, we make an object to be a matte object, or we can call it shadow catcher. We have added a button in the VRay toolbar for creating such objects easily. Matte shadows are also supported now on the GPU. I just want to go into 3D Studio Max in order to show you this small button. This is the shadow catcher. The render mask is also supported. It works like a render region, but for selected objects, textures, layers, and VRay will render only them. The directionality for the rectangular lights is also supported. This will be very useful for people who render product shots. And Cache the Radiance map is also supported on the GPU. So guys, we are changing the topic a bit and we are going to talk about materials. VRay is known for its photorealistic renders. Now we have done some additional improvements to the VRay material and we have added the option called glossy fresnel. The default is on, and to show you the differences I have prepared two images. The difference can be seen here in the reflections, so let me show you those. Here you have glossy fresnel off, and here we have the glossy fresnel on. I'm going to switch between those two renders so you can see better the differences. So here off, here on, and this here looks more natural and more photorealistic to me. More about the glossy fresnel and why we have added it, you can read on our labs.chaosgroup.com website. You know that the VRay frame buffer is a very powerful tool for doing some color corrections and making our render looks more beautiful. It has also integrated lens effects, so I don't need to go in Photoshop, for example, in order to add some glare and bloom effects. I can do this directly in the VRay frame buffer. Those effects are post effects. So till now we could add them after the rendering process. Many users required the lens effects to be interactive so they can tweak them during the rendering process. And from now on, you can set your perfect glare and bloom effect while you still render. That is what interactive lens effects means. And here I want to mention one more improvement we made, again based on users' feedback. The lens effects are going to be applied on the denoised render element when using VRay Denoiser. While we are on the VFB topic, I want to show you some other very useful and user-friendly VRay RT improvements. To do that, I need again to open another scene. It will be this one. And the first thing after starting the VRay RT, what I want to show you is how easily and interactively you can change your resolution without any need to stop the rendering anymore, which is pretty cool. Of course, if you want to type a specific resolution, you can do this from the render settings, again without stopping the rendering process. Now if I click with the right mouse button, you're going to notice three new options in here. The first one is the ability to select objects directly from the VRay frame buffer. So I can just go and click on that, or on the small piece of chocolate, or I want to select the coffee beans just by clicking in the VRay frame buffer. But even better is that I can select the material of that object. For example, if I go and say get object material, and here we go, VRay will open for me the material editor and will show me the material applied on the selected objects. So easily I can just go and, for example, change the material, this aluminum material. And this is how I can really work effectively. And the last thing is that you can interactively also set your focus distance. So if you see right now, this is where my object is sharp. And if I want to see more from here, from this part of my image, I just need to go and click on that. And here we go. Now the second chocolate is sharp and the rest of the image is blurry. Or if I want to focus on those coffee beans, again, just go and select it. So very small but very useful features. I really like them and use them, so I hope you're going to like them as well. So now we need to move on. In VRay 3.5 for 3D Studio Max, we are including our new licensing system, already integrated for VRay for Modo and Revit. Until now, to license VRay, we needed dongle. From now on, the only thing you need is to log in and you have access to all your VRay licenses. So you can render wherever and whenever you want. The system works with the dongle as well and reads the licenses you have available on your dongle. Here is how it looks like. This is the dongle session, this is the online licensing, and if you don't have an internet connection, you can borrow a license. And the best part is that using the online licensing, we can offer a full featured 30 days trial through our website. So if you want to try VRay, I encourage you to go and register for the trial on our website. Those were the highlights in VRay 3.5 related to VRay itself. Now I want to mention another product of ours called VR Scans, since some new functionalities were added. First, for those of you who don't know about the VR Scans, I want to say a few words. The VR Scans is a new material scanning technology which captures the whole appearance of the material, like texture data and its unique response to light. In combination with the VR Scans plugin, the end user gets a ready-to-use material and no additional tweaking is required to match the original scanned material's surface. So you can render photorealistic images super easy and fast. We can scan a wide variety of materials like fabric, metal, wood, car paint, plastic. Here are some results. This is a scanned car paint material and how the flakes react to light. And here you can see a scanned wood material, first with no paint at all, then with one layer of clear coat, and then with two layers of clear coat, and how the material changes and reacts to the light. If you're interested in this technology, this is where you can find more information about it, chaosgroup.com/vrscans. We also offer a material library with more than 400 materials which grows constantly, so if you are interested you can register for a 30 days free trial which allows you to test some of the materials in the library and also for commercial purposes. In VRay 3.5 we have done some improvements to the VR scans as well. We give our users more control over the material, and thanks to the paint color option, you can easily change the color of the material without changing the texture itself or the reflections. There are a couple of more improvements added, so if you are interested, check out our YouTube channel for more demo videos. So guys, to summarize all set until now, VRay 3.5 is out. This is another service pack full with new features, many improvements and optimizations. Thanks to the adaptive lights option, you will render scenes with many lights much faster. Now the VRay full-blown production renderer is interactive, which makes our workflow easier. We have new materials added and also improved ones. You also get more flexibility during RT sessions like interactive lens effects, picking objects and materials directly from the VRay frame buffer, setting the focus point again in the frame buffer, changing resolution for your image without stopping the render process. This is the service pack with the most GPU improvements. like faster rendering thanks to the adaptive lights, more memory efficiency, thanks to the core optimizations made, VRay Clipper, area perspective, VRay stochastic flakes material, forest cover support, and many more. And last but not least, the online licensing, which will allow you to join us easily and quickly. Now, let's take a look at something also interesting, and this is our new pricing. Monthly rentals cost 50% less. We're happy to inform you that with the release of VRay 3.5, we are decreasing the price of monthly rentals of VRay 43 Studio Max workstation licenses with 50%. This is not a time-limited promotion, but rather a permanent change, which aims to provide you with more flexibility if you have temporary licenses. And here you can take a look at the new price list. As you've seen, there are lots of great new features in VRay 3.5. If you have a VRay 3 license, you will get the new version for free as part of that license. For everyone who has VRay 2 or the older 1.5 licenses, we are offering a time-limited offer to upgrade your license with a 30% discount before the end of March. Everyone who upgrades will also get a complimentary license and library access for VR scans for 1 year. If you have any questions about our pricing and promotions, don't hesitate to contact us at sales@chaosgroup.com. So guys, if you're interested in what you saw and you want to try VRay 3.5, join the VRay community. You can just go on our chaosgroup.com website and download a free trial. Here you can see some very useful links. Of course, our official website, chaosgroup.com. The second one is docs.chaosgroup.com is our official documentation website, where you're going to find all the VRay features explained, also with some examples. And of course, our YouTube channel, where you're going to find many videos, many demo videos, also tutorials. So guys, that was all. Thank you so much for finding the time and joining us today. It was a pleasure for me, and I had a lot of fun creating this presentation for you. Hope you found it interesting and hope to see you at our upcoming events this year, or at least at our next webinar. You have a couple of more minutes before our session ends, so if you have some questions, just write them down in the chat box, and my colleague is going to answer them. Thank you all again and have a nice day. Bye!